EnglishSimmer here, you know, your one-stop shop for all the latest Sims 4 news. I can't even say it with a straight face. No, I have never claimed to be that, nor will I ever claim to be that, but after me saying, like, you know, it's kind of hard to keep up with all of the Sims news because I feel like we have like bits and bobs kind of scattered around the place when it comes to Sims news, I decided to cover this SDX drop, which is something I don't usually do unless it has like gameplay or like new recipes attached to it. However, this one was actually quite large. Why does my pinky keep going up? Cue everyone being like, where did you get your pinky ring from? I love it. Cami Scott, the lesbian YouTuber, had this range like years and years ago, and I'm so sad because if this ever like gets lost or I ruin this ring somehow, I'm never gonna be able to find another one like it. It is the only ring I've ever found that fits my little finger because yes, I do have little like salad fingers. Anyways, let's get into yesterday's SDX drop. So the Sims team tweeted out, it's time for a Sims Delivery Express. Dance to Anita's new song on the radio. So that's a new thing that we have, whilst checking out 2 new hairstyles courtesy of D-Sims, who, by the way, birthday was yesterday. Love her so much. And she collabed with the team to create 2 new hairstyles. And then we also have new mustaches, which I very much wasn't expecting, but I have constantly said we need more facial hair, especially we need more diversity when it comes to facial hair in the game. Hopping into Create Sim to check out this new stuff. This is the masculine tagged hairstyle. This is the 2-strand twist hairstyle. I absolutely love this. I genuinely think this is one of the like most detailed looking hairstyles we've had. I think it just looks so good. I think D absolutely smashed it out of the park with this one. I'm gonna get an awful lot of use out of it. I think it like looks good. Oh, stop it. I didn't know that we kind of had like a sort of like ombre effect with roots and then a change in color. I was kind of expecting it for like the unnatural swatches, like the purples and the pinks and the blues and things like that, but seeing it with the blonde, this one is legitimately one of my favorites. I kind of do wish we had it for like the bright white as well. And then we got the 3 new facial hairs. These are actually under mustaches. This sim actually has one on right now, which I bet you're like, what? It's kind of this like peach fuzz across the top lip. We kind of had one of these when it came to Parenthood, but it was more a beard. It was like a very light fluttering with like a mustache included, but this one's even finer, which I really like, and I think it's like kind of accurate. I think this is gonna come in very handy for like teenagers. Then we have this massive handlebar mustache, which I actually really like this one. It goes like literally all the way under the chin. I will say this one feels like it has a little bit of texture to it. It definitely looks like it's meant to be curly. I think it's just because it has that like rougher texture. I genuinely would love it if they went back, like looked at the beards and gave us like a rougher texture for all of the beards, because this one is really the only one that we have. This one is like slightly curly, and then we obviously got this curly stubble in high school years, but unfortunately that's not part of the base game, so I feel like you're kind of paying for the luxury of having that diversity when it comes to facial hair. Love that mustache, think it looks absolutely great. It also doesn't like distort your Sims facial feature at all. It doesn't mess with like the jaw or the chin, which is always really nice to see. And then we have this much thicker mustache, which I again absolutely love. It kind of has that more wiry texture to it once again, which I feel like slightly makes them look more realistic. And again, it doesn't really mess with like your Sims facial features at all, so really nice to see. I have a lot of custom content mustaches in my game, I will say that. And speaking of CC mustaches, Kevin came along, absolute legend, and said, you know what, the new mustaches we got in yesterday's SDX, whoa, why is it so hard for me to say? I've said it so many times, are fab, but they needed some stubble, so I made this simple edit. I hope you find it useful. I'm actually gonna link this down below. I actually put these in my game, so these are what they look like. So you have that like handlebars mustache, but with the stubble from base game, so very Maxis match, definitely feels like it belongs in the game. And then you also have that heavier mustache with some stubble underneath it as well. I would love it in the future, maybe in The Sims 5, I'm gonna put this little pipe dream out there. I would love it if you could layer facial hair, so you could put a stubble on and then like layer any beard or any like mustache over it, and you could also pair like little soul patches with mustaches. I would love a little bit more customization when it came to facial hair, but Kevin has got you if you want it looking like slightly a little bit more realistic. If you don't want the fully clean shaven look, you can go for this bad boy. This one really reminds me of Arthur from Red Dead Redemption. Oh my word, the things I would do for that man. And then another D-Sims creation, the D-Sims original. Oh my word. I have wanted Bantu knots in my game for so long, and nothing could have prepared me for how good these ones would look. Again, just like the detail that comes with them, and honestly, like all the colors. I do still kind of wish that baby hairs were an accessory so that you could have a little bit more customization when it came to these hairstyles. I know that I've seen a couple of people asking for CC custom content without the baby hairs, which I am all for. I really like having those customization options. However, I think the baby hairs look really good. I am a massive fan of this hairstyle, and again, I will be getting so much use out of these. They look like custom content in themselves because they are just like that detailed, and this is what I love about when creators get to collab with the Sims team. I just think that everything that they come out with just looks incredible. So big thank you to D-Sims on this front. And then we actually got some like headwear and some t-shirts. Don't get too excited, they're not as good, I would say, as like the masculine stuff that we got a couple of months ago now, but we got some stuff to celebrate Mass Effect, which if you aren't a Mass Effect fan, I highly doubt you're gonna use these. Honestly, I don't see myself getting a lot of use out of them because it kind of faces the same issue that like the Star Wars stuff does in my game, is that I only really am gonna use it if for some reason I like headcanon that one of my Sims is like a massive nerd or like is a fan of the franchise. I feel like that's pretty much the only time I'm really gonna play around with these types of things. I can't even blummin' find them. Oh, that's because it's just a swatch of the base game hat, but this is the N7 swatch. I think we also got an N7 swatch on this front-facing cap, so this is what it looks like. It's not anything new, it's just like a recolor of the base game hats that we have had. And finally, as if this beanie wasn't confusing enough, because I have no idea what colors are included in the base game, I have no idea what colors are still included in Get to Work, we got another base game swatch. I actually quite like the look of this one. It's a deeper black. I wish that they had just given us this swatch without the N7 logo on as well, because I actually much prefer like the texture, and this one looks like super gray. It very much doesn't look like a true black. I much prefer this as an actual hat. And I guess if you're not familiar with Mass Effect or you have like no ties to it whatsoever, you could just be like, oh, this could just be like the fashion logo of the designer or something. We got two new Mass Effect tops, so this should be in base game and then t-shirts. Excuse me if this takes forever for me to find. So the male t-shirt is actually a full recolor of just a base game one. So it's this base game t-shirt, the like school one, which also has Bob Pancake's trans pride flag on it. You have this massive like N7 black t-shirt, and then you also have the logo of, not gonna lie, had to look this one up, but this is the Paragon or the Renegades little logos. Oh, and also this one as well. And then for the feminine Sims, again under t-shirts, this is their new t-shirt. I actually think this is technically a new t-shirt, but I could be getting that wrong. It's very similar to the like rolled sleeve ones that we already had for feminine Sims. So it's basically like this mesh of the pocket tee, but without the pocket. So they've taken the same mesh. I don't know if this existed in the game without the pocket. So this might be a new t-shirt in a sense, but it basically uses all the same colors. I feel like we also got something like this with Strangerville. That's like an unlock of the army career. So you have some plain swatches. You got your black, your white, your browny, creamy one. I wish we had more deep browns in the game. I will say, I feel like we always get beige rather than like a deep brown. And then again, you've got the logos on the N7 one for feminine Sims as well. And then back up to that EA Sports one, it could just be to like celebrate the changing of the name from FIFA to EA Sports. I don't know. I don't really keep up with sports games, FIFA side of things. All I see when I see this is EA Sports. It's in the game. So you got Argentina, Brazil. I will say I am slightly confused about this English one because this is just like Ultimate Team for FIFA. I don't know why the English flag isn't on it, but honestly, I'm quite glad because the English flag, after being on Twitter, just honestly, I do not want to interact with it whatsoever. France, Germany, Italy, Japan, which I think this Japan one is so sick. Mexico, you got the Netherlands, you've got Poland, Senegal, Spain, and also USA. So if you want your sim to be into football, then there you go. It's an option for you. Yes, it seems kind of like an ad for another EA title, but I think for sportswear, I quite like it. And then finally, we do have some tattoos. Don't get too excited. These are basically more Mass Effect stuff. You have this just like N7 block tattoo. There's no other swatches for it. It is just this one on the upper arm. Again, if you headcanon that your sim is like a massive Mass Effect fan, then it's quite good. If they're a gamer, I guess they can kind of show it off. I don't think I will ever choose to use that tattoo. It's just taking up a very special slot for like other nicer tattoos, in my opinion. And then we have two back tattoos, which is just like one but two swatches, again for the Paragons and the Renegades, which I'm only now just realizing that the Paragons and the Renegades that were included in Get Together are quite clearly references to Mass Effect. I am so silly. I've never ever connected those dots in my life until this very moment. Oh my god, it's so big brain. Heading back out of Creator Sim, because there's one more thing that I forgot to mention. We actually got a new scenario, which quite literally the other day on stream, twitch.tv/EnglishSimmer, I did say that we haven't seen a scenario in a pretty long time. I feel like we got one every SDX drop for a while. Oh, well, just kidding. I saw the initial tweet that said that there was a new scenario, but apparently it's not been activated in The Sims 4 yet, so they posted a new tweet that didn't have the scenario, so my bad. Along with that, we now have the Sims Direct over on Twitter, which is kind of where they keep up with like issues within the game, I want to say. I don't know. I feel like this just splits it up even further. I personally did say I wanted like a specific place where I could go for like all this information. I'm hoping that this channel becomes it, but the fact that this didn't have really like the update, I don't know. It just feels like there's not really a distinction yet, and I would like to see that. But Simmers, our tuning fix for overly aggressive / mean Sims was intended to come out today. However, the fix will be delayed to early December. We sincerely apologize for the delay. There's basically a glitch within the game right now that like makes your Sims be like extra mean, and it doesn't depend on their traits or anything like that. I personally don't really have an issue with it, but I know that I am a Sims YouTuber, and therefore I quite like the drama. I quite like spanners being thrown into my game, and even though sometimes it's not the story that I want to tell, I quite like the direction that the game can take me in. However, for others, I know that that's a really annoying bug. Personally, I'm not like offended or like heartbroken that it's been pushed back to December. Hopefully they can get that sorted. Hopefully it will all be running okay and won't have any further knock-on effects. I just wanted to make you aware in case you were like, wow, my Sims have really been like extra salty lately. Like, what the heck is going on? It's not you, it's just the game. And then they also followed this up with, we're also taking steps to review the Sims 4 gallery, still with 40,000 plus uploads to the gallery each day. Your reporting helps moderators identify the the users and uploads making it past these barriers. Please continue to report using the flag this button. These steps include reviewing the banned word list for updating, which I am very, very glad about. I'm glad that they finally said, like, you know what? We are definitely gonna look at updating this list. I, as a Twitch streamer, know how like difficult it is and how fast the internet moves, and the banned words that you have to always consistently like add to your filters so that like you can protect not only yourself but your community as well. So I'm glad to see them taking a step in the right direction on this one. If you didn't know, there's been some awful, vile racism and anti-Semitism on the gallery. There's also a bunch of homophobia on the gallery. I have always reported it when I have seen it. However, I did post this tweet yesterday that said things that make it feel like it's even worth reporting, follow-ups on the report, what action was taken against the account and reasoning, and these should be sent both to the person who was reported and also the person who reported it. Long-term consequences, banned or suspended for a period of time and reasoning. I know that's a little bit more hard nowadays with like IP banning and the fact that like IPs can shift and people can get around it with like VPNs, I'm fairly sure. I don't really understand like the back end, so obviously it's much easier for me to sit here and like criticize and write this down in words when I'm not the one putting in those actions. However, I do feel like every so often I will repeat the same kind of things to a bunch of different companies, social media, gaming. I feel like we're constantly having these conversations around safety and how to fight like abuse online. So I really think that genuinely the best thing in the world for this to happen would be all of these media and tech companies coming together, putting their money into like research and things like that and like trying to come up with something together. However, this is not utopia. I highly doubt that's going to happen, but repercussions for people who repeat after warnings, again after banning account flagging for new accounts made by them, not allowing them back on the platform, basically making it as hard as it can be to get around all of these loopholes. Also from the get-go having filters in place and constantly updating these so people can be safe when they play games or when they're interacting on the internet. Like I said, I'm glad to see the Sims team taking a step in that direction. However, I do think that this one is actually a really big thing. Twitter, I am more likely to report someone because at least Twitter sends me an email back like, hey, we know that you reported this account, we got the report. And then also they will follow it up. Yeah, you know what? These specific tweets or that specific account did go against these terms, and this is the action that we have taken to remove this person from the platform. You also have the option to like hide replies and block them. Same on YouTube, you kind of have the option to hide someone from your channel. And I do think the gallery is slightly lagging behind. I feel like the gallery hasn't really been like looked at all that much. However, obviously from what we've seen of Project Rene, it also looks like we have a sharing sort of thing like the gallery. So I am glad that these steps are being taken for The Sims 4. I think they need to continue in The Sims 5 and be even better. I don't really like how right now when you report on the gallery, it just kind of hides it, because then you're like, okay, so I don't really know if that's been taken down just for me or if that's been taken down for like everyone. I think it should stay up and then have an option to maybe hide it from your view if you don't want to keep tabs on it, but then if you want to, it can still be up there and you can keep going back and like checking if it has been taken down. But please do keep flagging. I know not everything should be the responsibility of the player, but I do think that flagging helps for someone to actually come in and look at it, especially if something receives like hundreds of flags. So thank you to everyone who has brought attention to this on Twitter. I very, very much appreciate it. Also, I will say flagging custom content that doesn't belong on the gallery is also super important. I don't think there's anything in the gallery like to scan custom content, like what Sims maybe have tattooed on their body or flags that people have made. I've seen so many different examples, and whilst we can't like moderate what's going on in private on people's games that they don't share, as soon as it hits that gallery, it's going against terms of service. It's going against EA's safety guidelines at that point because it is available within The Sims 4. So please also flag that along anything else you find. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know why I'm using that voice. Also, I have the worst neck pain right now. I have never felt more like a 28-year-old than I do right now. I have a heat pad on the like in between my shoulders. I am so sore. I don't know what I've done. I just slept on my neck and back weird and I feel like this. So if it looks like I was gonna sob at any point during this video, know that I'm old. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Sorry if I missed anything. Hopefully I didn't. If you have any questions or if I did miss anything, please do not hesitate to let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you feel about this SDX drop, anything that I've talked about in this video, steps that you think can be taken to make you feel safer on the gallery or in The Sims 4 in general. I appreciate you all and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.